Hi everybody, Andy Nichols, the Backwards Traveler here for a brand new video again on Rooftop Day. Happy Rooftop Day, recording this on the 30th of January 2026, and it's pretty appropriate since I was just there about a month ago with Heidi the MVP, of course, Beatles Tone, and Mrs. Beatles Tone. Crazy to think, just four blokes went up on a roof and just decided to jam out. That's why I wore this jumper today, as you see. So it was good fun, and I'm sure it's as cold today there as it was back then. So I'm doing this video today, the vinyl tag of 2026, inspired by YouTuber Mark Morris. Mark, thank you for the idea and inspiration. But I heard about it through my good friend Beatles Tone, who did one. And then, of course, Joe Mayo did one, and a bunch of other YouTubers did one too. So I said, well, I'll just jump into the fun too. And it's really recapping 2025 and talking about some of your favorite things Beatles collecting-wise. So I thought it was a really cool little fun video to do. Throw it together pretty quick and just kind of go over some of my favorite things and what makes it a vinyl tag. So thanks for the inspiration again, Mark Morris. A link to his channel is below. So number one. This, my friends, is a three-way tie. It's a three-way tie because I can't separate which one I was more excited about getting. If we're going to go chronologically, the first thing I got earlier in the year was this, which I'm pretty proud of after a long, arduous journey. This is the Paul McCartney Flowers in the Dirt promotional box that was issued around when the album came out, having just all of Paul McCartney's albums in there. No Wings, obviously, from McCartney all the way to the then current album Flowers in the Dirt. This had been on my Discogs want list for about 12 years or so. Spotted it earlier in the year, grabbed it. Due to some shipping delays and mishaps, it went to David Gargolino's hometown for about 2 months. Finally made its way here to Jersey, but it's really nice. Just about all the discs are in here, are sealed still, and most of them are all the original Capitol issued. This was really a nice one, and I was happy to see our good friend Joan Borelli get one of these two later in the year. So that is definitely up there for number one. Number two, it's got to be this. This was a few months later. The Egypt Station suitcase, on my want list for a long time, much to the envy of my two legs partner, Tom Hunyadi, who had one way back in the day when we first met. When I saw it on his shelf, I actually held it when I went to visit him for the first time in Phoenix. But I got one. As you know, I got burned on one, so being the native New Yorker I am, I went and got a complete one. So I have an incomplete suitcase and a complete one. So that was definitely a highlight of collecting for the year. And then number three, and I'm not pulling it off the shelf because it's too damn heavy, so I'm just going to show you the book. And that's the Beatles in Mono set that came out, I think, finally in sometime in the summer after a very quick pre-order email that went out to some registered users of the Beatles email addresses, and they were gone very quickly. We did a little thing on this on Hands Across the Water. I couldn't get this in mono in 2014. It was out too quickly, and it was way too expensive. I actually had a bid on this earlier in the year for about, that was in the 4-digit range. Thankfully, I lost that, and I was able to get one of these, and I'm really happy to finally have a vinyl edition of the Beatles in Mono. We unboxed that on two legs also. So, well, again, with the MVP's help. So I have to say that that's a three-way tie for best acquisitions of 2025. Just too good. And I have to say, I was really been spoiled in 2025 in terms of collecting and going to see Paul concerts, and it really kind of kick-started at the end of 2024 by going to Manchester and seeing Paul twice and meeting everybody in Liverpool. From that moment on, it's been nothing but a high watermark in terms of collecting and concert going, and 2025 was no exception, with some great collecting, and I'm going to show some more of it as we go through this vinyl tag. If you want it, here it is, come and get it. I don't have much in my collection of anything non-Beatles that's on an Apple label other than the odd Badfinger single or two. I'm just not into collecting artists that were on Apple just for the sake that were on Apple. I do like that my mate Beatles Tone recently got the Elephant's Memory record, and he liked it, and maybe I'll check that out this year. But I'm not too keen on any of it, really. I've got that Come and Get It, the Best of Apple CD that came out around 2010. That's kind of a nice compilation that gets all the Apple artists on one disc. That's enough for me. I'm happy with that. In terms of my own collection, I do have one, And I'm pretty proud of it because it's an artist that I do enjoy. And that's James Taylor. His very first album, his debut album, produced by Peter Asher, another ginger friend of ours. And it's on the Apple label. One of the first signees of Apple. Here we go. Has early versions of Carolina in My Mind on it. And of course, Something in the Way She Moves, which became the forerunner of George's song. But here you are. Pretty good shape. I've only played it once or twice. But yeah, the debut record for James Taylor on Apple. And a very different looking James Taylor, too, I must say. One of the Beatles lyrics that I love the most, and songs that I love the most, is also from Sgt. Pepper's. This is an American copy. See, tone? Yellow. You don't have that over there. And the song I'm choosing, one of my favorite of all time, is She's Leaving Home. And to me, like a day in the life, it tells a story. And it's so sad, and it's such a perfect balance between John and Paul. Melancholy, sadness, the strings, the orchestration. For a couple of guys in their 20s, they wrote about really mature themes, and She's Leaving Home conveys so much emotion and sadness and grief in a 3-minute song, whether you like the mono or the stereo.
We gave her most of our lives, is leaving, sacrificed most of our lives. We gave her everything money could buy.
When you hear Paul do the she and the John kind of the call and response, we gave her most of our lives, and then Paul going back to his part, that is magical and probably one of the best Beatles songs ever. Now, this next song is not worth showing up an album cover for it because I just don't like it. And it might be a little bit of a cop-out because it's a song they did not write. One song that I cannot stand lyrically, musically, would be Rock and Roll Music from Beatles 65. Oh my God. You know, it goes on too long. And John Lennon's even quoted as saying that in a lot of interviews. Rock and roll music, which goes on forever. To the point when they even kept it in their stage act, they shortened it. You just listen to it and it feels like it's got 18 verses. Don't hit a middle in a tango, and then I'm gonna make a mambo. And you're like, okay, next verse. You're like, is this over yet? Is this over yet? Ugh. I can't stand rock and roll music. I like the original version, but the Beatles version just goes on forever.
If you wanna dance with me.
Too long. If you want to dance with me. Da-na-na. I don't. Over. Done. Out of here. We're not going to talk about the Lewisons because that's a given. Everybody should have Lewison. Everybody should have McDonald. I have 3 other books that I've pulled from my library today that I'm going to recommend to Beatles readers out there. Some of them you might have heard of. Some of them you might not have heard of. The first one is a really small one, but it's a good one. And it's based on the Beatles' second album. And it's called The Beatles' Second Album by Dave Marsh, who used to write for the Rolling Stone. And I believe he was an editor too. And all the magic that went into putting that album together by Dave Dexter, by Capitol, and, you know, purists be damned. I'm sorry, the Parlophone albums, they are. I'm so happy with my mono set. But I grew up with the American albums, but I, of course, now think of the UK albums as canon, as you should. But you can't pull the memories away from when you first heard this music. And the Beatles' second album, and all of its fake stereo echoey stuff, is just brilliant. 11 songs, 22 minutes. She Loves You is on there. I'll Call Your Name is on there. I'll Get You is on there. Long Tall Sally. Really, in a lot of ways, a stronger album than Meet the Beatles. And it's a good, concise book. It's, you know, let's see, how many pages is it? 175 pages. And it goes into all the why Capitol butchered the Beatles albums, because this book was first published around the time of when the Capitol albums box sets came out. So, of course, it was in the consciousness of Beatle fandom and the Beatles news. This was first published in 2007. So those Capitol boxes came out in 2004 and 2006. So there was a little bit of a revival in the early aughts with the Beatles Capitol stuff, and Dave recognizes that, and that's why this book came out. So I would highly recommend, if you like a quick read on the Beatles' second album and Capitol Records as a whole in the 60s, and the marketing and the decisions and all the kind of key players that are involved back then, go grab this one out. Worth it. Another book, and if you're a follower of Two Legs, you'll know about this because we did an episode about this last year. And this book is also quite old. As you see, it's quite worn. And this is Keith Badman's After the Breakup, 1970 to 2000. It's a day-by-day timeline of all four Beatles and all their activities in the press, quotes, interviews, record releases, touring. If they were in the headlines, it's in here. If they were interviewed, it's in here. If they were touring, it's in here. Anything, any kind of interaction, it's all in here. It is a little outdated. Keith's done a number of books since then, but this is the gold standard to kind of look at this 30-year period. If you want to really get some really great quotes from all four Beatles and all the activities that they were doing, the contracts, all the breakup stuff, John's passing, it's all covered in here very well, very thorough, very complete. I've had it for 26, almost 25 years. I think I bought it shortly after it came out, so it's going on 26 years old. But worth getting if you don't already have it. Even though it hasn't been updated, I would get it. It is essential. Lastly, one of the best Beatles books I have ever read. I've read it a couple of times. It's so damn good. For my money, and play on the words here, this book right here, You Never Give Me Your Money by Peter Doggett, is the most complete, thorough look and analysis of the Beatles breakup from a financial point of view. You want to know about the contracts and what they were worth and who got what and what happened to when, the nitty-gritty of the finances, which is kind of, poop. Nobody really wants to talk about that stuff. Peter's got it. And you're going to hear his voice very soon in a film that is going to be coming out. So that should tell you that Peter is definitely an authority on all things Beatles, and his book about the finances and what led to the breakdown, specifically Klein and Eastman and all that, is all in this book. If you ever wanted to read one book about the breakup, this is the book. I will give a nod to Mark Lewison. He needs to be recognized because he's currently working on volumes 2 and 3. The Tune-In books were absolutely groundbreaking, much in the mold of the McCartney Legacy books, and I'm not going to include them either because you know how much of a fan I am and a friend to Alan and Adrian. Those books go without saying. Lewison books and the Legacy books, they go without saying. They should be on everybody's shelf. I wanted to pick 3 kind of off the beaten path that you may not have heard of, but those are 3 I definitely recommend you picking up. Yes, I bought it. Much to the success of all the YouTubers out there and the pushback that they gave Apple, who said, look, make Volume 4 available on its own. Absolutely ridiculous that the only way you could have gotten it initially was by rebuying it all over again. I got to tell you, I did not pull the trigger right away on that when it came out. I waited. I did get the box set on vinyl to start. I have not got the CD set yet. The vinyl is going to be good enough for me. I like that Volume 4 is in there, and the remastering, particularly with Volume 1, I'm very happy with. Kudos to you guys out there who pushed back and said, listen, this is ridiculous. You have to have Volume 4 on its own. But I was happy to re-get it again on vinyl in that box set at a pretty decent price on Amazon. I think I got it for about $300, a little less than $300 on Amazon shortly after Black Friday. So I didn't get it right away, but I did, and I will get the CD eventually too. And I already had the original 90s copies. I got Anthology 1, 2, and 3 as they were issued back in the 90s as Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, and I've held on to them for 30 plus years, and they're in fantastic shape. I do like the fact that now the vinyl is made on heavyweight vinyl. In the 1990s, vinyl was scarce. It wasn't made very well. Go look at copies of Off the Ground or any of the anthologies. It's like flexi-disc quality. It's not really good. So I'm really happy to have a nice, meatier version of the anthology on vinyl now. This was a tough one. I had to give it a good think. I was thinking of a John song, a Paul song, George, a Ringo. where do you think I was going to lead? Paul. I was thinking about a couple tracks. I thought about Band on the Run and the whole If I Ever Get Out of Here stuff that George said. But then I was going through the Wings albums, and I settled on this song.
She tastes like wine. It's a human being so divine. Oh, she feel like sun. Mother Nature, look at what you've done.
And I think Letting Go is a good little rocker that could have had all four Beatles shining on it. George with a solo, Paul with killer bass, and John singing it. Now, I'm sure somebody out there in AI land can do a version of Letting Go with John singing it. I think this could have been just a John song with Paul on bass and George doing that awesome lead guitar and Ringo on the drums. Or maybe John and Paul splitting it a little bit, but probably more of a John song. You know, John always felt that the songs that Paul kind of did the shouting ones on, like Oh Darling, I think John got a little envious with those. He was like, oh, I could do that better than him. But I think here's one that could have worked as a bona fide Beatles song with Letting Go. I mean, it's in Paul's set list now. Easily could hear it. And the horns too. A category that I'm not really keen on either, but I have a few of them. Picture discs. Sgt. Pepper picture disc. These were not made very well back in the day. This is like circa 1978. Probably haven't played it in 20 years. They just weren't made well. You'd put a picture disc on and you'd hear the surface noise, and it didn't sound good. It messed up your stylus, and you couldn't even be bothered by doing it. Another favorite of mine that I do have is the Band on the Run picture disc. Quite good. This is a little bit better, but the picture discs now are made better. This is quite good. And this is one, too, that I have that I don't think is official. Maybe Beatley Tone or anybody out there can tell me about this one. This is Hey Jude and Revolution, but I don't think this is official at all. I mean, it's got a matrix number and all that, but I don't think it is. But I like them. They're nice to have. I have a couple of the We All Stand Togethers with Paul and Rupert. I like them. They're more nice to look at than to actually play. And I know that in recent years, the Beatles albums have gotten reissued on picture discs. Abbey Road, Revolver, they're quite nice. I haven't snapped them up yet. I just don't have any really need to go grab those just yet. If I only have one compilation for the rest of my days, no brainer. And this was also a 2025 acquisition. And that is the Beatles from Liverpool box. Why am I going to take only 2 or 3 LPs when I can have 8? No brainer, baby. I want to have 8 records with me when I go on a desert island. Plus, you get all the unique mixes. First, I would digitize it, though, and put it on my phone before I left. This way I wouldn't, because what else would I play the records on if I was nowhere else or stranded? But if I had my phone and a charger, I could listen to it. It's quite good, though. So this, if it's cheating, peace and love. But the question was one compilation, and this is a compilation, the biggest one ever. So that's a win, and I'm taking it. Yeah, absolutely. It was a B-side single here in America and also in the UK. I'm going with the lovely Yes It Is from the American album, Beatles 6. This is a sealed copy. Yes It Is, to me, is, of course, in that This Boy vein of the 3-part harmonies, but a B-side, a beautiful B-side like that, with John, Paul, and George harmonizing, and Please Don't Wear Red Tonight, all 3 of them, beautifully singing that song in that tempo of the waltz of the 3/4 time. Fantastic. And that, to me, is an underrated Beatles song if there ever was one. Totally love Yes It Is from the B-side to Help in 1965. And also here on Beatles 6 in America. So I'm going to kind of cheat with this one a little bit because the bonus question that Mark had up there was like show EPs or 45. So I'm going to kind of combine number 10 with this one because it's not a 45, but they're EPs, but they're from other countries. And yes, I do have a couple of them. I have the EP CD collection, which is sonically if you listen to the audio files, they say that the EP collection is the best sonically sounding Beatles music out there. I really can't tell the difference, to be honest with you. But in terms of vinyl, yeah, I have a few. Here's Nowhere Man, which is a reissue from the 80s in mono. And one that I'm really proud of that I bought in Liverpool way back in the day, and that is Magical Mystery Tour, the double EP. Highly sought after. This is not an original, but I'm happy just as well to have it. Of course, you can tell it's probably from the late 70s with that black and white Parlophone label. And again, Discogs, matrixing, indexing things. I'm sure it's in there. I just didn't bother to look it up. It's not an original, but it's in good shape. With the back and the cover. And, of course, the booklet in here, too, which was represented on the American release, which then got adopted by the UK, I think in 1976. This got issued as a vinyl, a 12-inch vinyl in England. But, yeah, one of the ones I was always kind of on my list for a long, long time to get, and I was happy to finally snag one. That's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. And the answer is, Maybe I'm Amazed from McCartney. That is a song that could be a Beatles song. That's my vinyl tag for 2026. So thank you, Mark Morris, for the inspiration. Thank you, Tone. The links for both those channels are below. Check out Two Legs. Check out Hands Across the Water. Stay tuned for some content right here on The Backwards Traveler. Tony and I are going to do a little video and dish on We All Stand Together in the next week or so, where we kind of just talk about that from UK and US perspectives, go over the kind of recording history of it. So all good things. And we recently had a Two Legs episode where we reviewed the Wings book. So all below. Check it out. Let me know what you think of my vinyl tag for 2026, and I'll see you next time.